Views expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of WPSL. However, we do encourage you to like and share them on social media because it's the What's Happening show on the weekends. The Sue Ellen Sanders Show with your host, Sue Ellen Sanders.
Welcome to the Sue Ellen Sanders Show. If we were doing this show today in the studio, we would have a crowded studio because not only do we have Gary Porter with the Treasure Coast Food Bank with us, but we also have 3 of the 4 interns that are busy making things happen at the Treasure Coast Food Bank this summer. So welcome everybody and welcome to the Sue Ellen Sanders Show. Gary, you've been on here with us before, so you're the one that's familiar with us. Alexis, Avery, and Lily, have you been on the radio before?
I have not.
No, but you've probably done podcasts before, right? Well,
I've listened to them.
You've listened to them. This is like a 53-minute podcast. So other than the fact that that we have a regular listening audience and that we are recording it, of course, to use this weekend. So the things that we'll be talking about today, which we're actually recording on Wednesday, the 30th of June, will be played this weekend. So over 4th of July weekend. So Gary, what's up?
Hey, not much. How are you doing? Good to see you again.
Good. Yeah, you say not much, but actually you're just meaning that conversationally because the Treasure Coast Food Bank is doing a lot of wonderful things right now in the community and for our friends and neighbors. And you have a room full of, well, they're not in your room, they're in a separate room there, a room full of helpers who are college students. First of all, Gary, is your title Director of Community Relations still?
It is, yes.
Okay. And then I'm going to allow Alexis, Avery, and Lily to introduce themselves, if that's okay, and talk a little bit, each of them talk a little bit about where they're from and why they're here in the cubicle. It looks like a cubicle, am I right?
Yes. Yes.
The Treasure Coast Food Bank. So let's do that.
So my name is Alexis. I studied marketing up at Florida State University, but I was born and raised in Port St. Lucie. And I'm just kind of really excited to get involved with an organization that kind of has such deep roots in the community. You really get to see all that they do, whether it's from their food distributions or just spreading a lot of awareness. And it's been an absolute pleasure to work alongside them this summer.
That's great. And Alexis, also, as somebody who grew up in Port St. Lucie, you probably were already familiar somewhat with the food bank, right?
Yes, I was, but also very much not. I've kind of got to learn in the last 8 weeks how much they really do. I knew they existed. I have done canned food drives to them in the past, but these past month and a half, I think has been really eye-opening, and all of their involvement, all of their agency partners, just the sheer presence of them in the community. It's been very eye-opening in that sense.
So Alexis, do you think that, basically most people out in the community that they're aware of canned food drives, that is their main perception, the ordinary person like you were before you came in?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I can't really speak for everybody, but kind of just like I said, being born and raised here, you hear about the Treasure Coast Food Bank, okay, that's an organization, they do good. I've done food drives to them, I've kind of seen that, but you don't really get the whole grasp of all of their different things. So I think just kind of getting to see that in full action and kind of seeing all the hats that everybody wears and all that they do has been kind of so incredible. And it's really allowed me to be a little bit more in touch with the community that I grew up in. And it's just kind of been really nice in that sense.
Well, we're happy to have you here. Avery, You're,
Oh.
hi?
You can see me a little peeking
No, I
through
can
the
see
corner.
you, so that's good.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so like I said, I'm Avery. I'm originally from Connecticut, but then the summer before my freshman year of high school, I moved to Vero Beach. And currently I'm going to be a junior at Wake Forest University in North Carolina, and I am a communications major and a psychology minor.
Ooh, powerful combination.
Yes, it's been interesting. It is a good combination for sure.
Yeah.
I like it.
And that actually was my major many years ago, exactly when I was attending University of Florida.
Some
By the way,
competition
go
over here.
Gators.
I'm a Knoll.
Yes.
Go Gators.
No, I took note. Yes, go Gators. Thank you, Gary. And what was your experience with the Treasure Coast Food Bank before you took the internship with them?
Yeah, so honestly, I, like Alexis had kind of said, I'd heard a little bit here and there, but I think what shocked me the most was when I was applying for the job, I was on the website, and there were a lot of stats that just talk about food insecurity in the different counties. And when I saw, because like I said, I'm from Vero, when I saw that child food insecurity in Indian River County was over 20%, I was totally shocked by that. Because I think a lot of people don't necessarily realize that they're kind of in a little bit of a bubble, and it very much does exist. And it's something that people should be aware about, especially because there are things that the everyday person can do to help fight hunger. And, it's so nice too, to come and work at events and see how many people come and volunteer and are regulars. And even though we're like marketing and communications interns, we've gotten to do some of the events, and it's just such a good feeling to know that you're actually doing something that makes a difference in the community and that you're really able to give back. So.
And it's a good thing you're here this summer, not last summer, right?
Yes, yes, I'm sure last summer probably.
Many more events.
Yes.
And Lily, you are in the back there.
Yes, hi.
Hi.
My name is Lily, and I moved down to Port St. Lucie in 2016, and I'm going to IRSC for a graphic design bachelor's degree.
What a nice combination of different skill sets you all bring to the table. And as far as your experience with the Treasure Coast Food Bank, you've also lived in the area since 2016. Were you familiar with it before you took the internship?
Like the others, I was aware of it, but I wasn't aware of the scope that it was really having all of these great events and things, and really a lot more than just like food drives and things like that. They really reach a lot of people. So being able to see the whole scope of everything they do has been really like mind-opening.
Well, Gary, you have been on board with the Treasure Coast Food Bank as the director of community relations, and you get to see this and live and breathe this every day. Are you helping to guide the way for these young ladies?
They're doing a fantastic job. I mean, just for the short amount of time that they've been here, they've brought so much to our organization. Just from the support of being at the events, from doing mobile distributions. We did a huge food drive this past Friday night with the Keep St. Lucie Beautiful organization and the St. Lucie Mets. They were there supporting that 100%. A lot of the graphic design work they're doing for some of our upcoming events have been incredible. So yes, just the short amount of time they've been here, they've done just an amazing job. And it's fun working, I look young, but I'm old. But it's fun working with the younger crowd, seeing the innovation and the ideas come to life. It's really exciting to have those folks have them here. So
it is, and in the past, I've worked with interns and always felt like that I wasn't giving them enough to do. And it's nice because during the summer, especially at the Treasure Coast Food Bank, there's plenty to do. Have you ladies come up with some of your own jobs, or were there already carved out duties for you?
I mean, I think
what we were talking about earlier that we really like is that we do have a lot of creative freedom, and there are certain guidelines and, you know, tasks that need to be done, but we're able to kind of pick the direction we want to go in with them. And I think that is one thing for sure that we can all agree on, is that we've learned so much just in the few weeks that we've been here. And I feel like it's a really great collaborative team, and everyone has different strengths and they all play on each other really nicely. And so I feel like whenever we have a project, we all kind of are in our little office here working together on it, and everyone's kind of, you know, adding their 2 cents. So
That's awesome. And, you know, of course, you know, Lily having the graphic design background, she's the one who's obviously driving the graphic design work of what you do.
Yeah.
So Gary, let's talk about a little bit about what the Treasure Coast Food Bank is been up to for this summer and the upcoming fall, and also talk about how some of the things have changed because of the pandemic.
Yeah, so the past year, as you know, has been just incredibly crazy with COVID-19.
We're not hearing you very well on your microphone.
Can you hear me now?
No, but we were hearing you fine before.
Maybe
No,
mute button.
no, it's not the mute button because I could hear him very faintly.
I checked the plug, maybe.
Hmm? Yeah, maybe. No. Well, meanwhile, we'll go ahead and talk to Alexis, Avery, and Lily about some of the events that they're doing.
You guys hear me now? I took the earbuds.
Oh, yes, I can hear you now. Okay.
Very cool. So yeah, as you know, with COVID-19 this past year, in 2020, things were incredibly busy for the Treasure Coast Food Bank. With the amount of food distribution, the increased almost 200% increase in distribution pounds throughout the 4 counties that we serve. And going into 21, I mean, we're already halfway through 2021, and we're still seeing a tremendous need of folks that are still not necessarily struggling, but they're trying to get back to some sort of normalcy. And with folks regaining jobs and families kind of getting back to some kind of a normal life. But we are still seeing a tremendous amount of need throughout the community. Have a lot going on. As we were mentioning earlier, the interns, they all came in at the right time because we are starting to get back to some of our normal events that we've had throughout the years. We have a lot of our mobile distributions that are still taking place throughout the counties. But we're super excited about our Hunger Action Month that's coming up in September. That is a national event that takes place throughout food banks across the country. And we have a lot of different moving parts to that. We have a 30 ways in 30 days calendar that'll be up. This year, the interns not only created our normal 30-day calendar, but they also created a kids calendar. So there's a lot of fun activities involved in that. We have an Out Laugh Hunger event taking place. We have a 5K run that'll be taking place. And then a lot of different activities that'll take place throughout the entire month of September. And then we'll also be working towards our annual Pack the House event that'll take place in October, where we build 15,000 holiday boxes for families to make sure that they have a holiday meal. So it's just a drop in the bucket of the things that are taking place, but those are some of the high points, and we're super excited about those.
No, I know over the last year and some months, it's been very tough to be out in the community, but the need has never been greater, really, than the last year. So are you kind of split, Gary, now on things that you're doing in relation to COVID relief as compared to your regular, normal, everyday activities?
Yeah, I mean, our effort's always been to make sure folks had food on the table, whether it was during COVID or regular times. And while we did see a huge increase in the number of cars coming through the lines, the ultimate goal of what we were trying to accomplish has never changed. As we started through the beginning of COVID, we were seeing super long lines. I mean, 500 to 1,000 cars that would take 5-6 hours to do a distribution to make sure folks, every car that came through the line got food. Fortunately, as folks have gone back to work, some of the restrictions have been lifted with COVID. We've seen those numbers going down, but not drastically, not as much as you would think they would. We're still seeing a large number of folks come through, but COVID definitely was a huge point for the Treasure Coast Food Bank because it really, we were tired. You know, I mean, we were working 7 days a week, but ultimately our goal was to make sure that people had food.
So there were, you know, in addition to people who were regular clients of the Treasure Coast Food Bank, you had so many more because of the number of people who could not access what they needed during COVID. Or COVID may have put them in a financial situation where they either didn't have a job or were worried about looking for a job, or were worried about continuing their day-to-day activity. So how did you pivot because of COVID at the Treasure Coast Food Bank?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And in the face of hunger, it changed 190 degrees during COVID because you're absolutely right. It's, you know, we were seeing families come through the lines that had never, ever had to rely on any kind of support, especially looking for something is that we take for granted on a day-to-day basis, and that's having food on our tables. Folks come through that maybe had lost both jobs, maybe they lost one job. So the demeanor and the whole persona of what people thought would normally be coming through the line looking for food was folks just like you and I who are, you know, some of those folks are one paycheck away from being that next car in line. So yeah, it's completely different. We did, you know, with our volunteers, we had a lot of wonderful volunteers who still would come out and help us with supporting those events. But again, a lot of the times those volunteers were also coming through the lines because they were struggling as well.
And the volunteers had, you had to keep them safe while at the same time you were distributing food. How did your food distribution change because of COVID?
Our distribution process changed completely. When we would do our mobile distributions in the past prior to COVID, it was a walk-up type distribution where we would set up food, people could come up, and it was an opportunity where they could kind of go through the line and pick and choose the items that they wanted. The way we saw best to still serve the community to keep folks safe is we created a drive-through distribution. So cars would line up, we would set up a certain number of cars to come through the line. We would have volunteers then place the food directly into the trunks of the vehicles, all socially distanced. And we're actually still requiring all of our volunteers, even at this time of COVID, to wear a mask during our distributions. So it was the safest way to still have folks there to support it, because obviously our staff could not do that all by themselves. And then the no contact with the clients, staying in their vehicles, just simply placing the food in their trunks, provided us a great opportunity to still get the food out the way we needed to.
How would you say your percentage of new people coming to the Treasure Coast Food Bank, how did it change during the course of COVID? And is it starting to level off now?
I would say the percentage is really high. I don't have the number in front of me, but I would say it would be more than 50% of a different clientele. We have seen a decrease in the number of folks coming out. And I think a lot of that is some of it's due to obviously the most recent stimulus checks, which I'm sure most of that's gone by now, but also a lot of folks are going back to work. And I think we've seen that because when we do our distributions during the week, that's where we're seeing the decline in the number of cars coming out, because people are working. And so I do see some light at the end of the tunnel, I hope. Will that ever go away? I'm not 100% sure, but we have seen a little bit of a decline in the number of folks coming through the lines. while the numbers are still high though.
So you see from the decline that, you know, people are going back to work and there is some type of normalcy. And one of the other things that I know really affected the Treasure Coast Food Bank over the last year is your ability to fundraise, because a fair amount of your fundraising was done through special events.
Absolutely. I've always said that the Treasure Coast community is a very giving community. But yes, you're absolutely right. The fundraising, a lot of our events that we generate funds from were canceled because of COVID. But we do have a very generous donor base, and a lot of folks really stepped up to help us throughout that time.
Well, ladies, you want to talk a little bit about some of the reasons that you decided this summer to get involved with the Treasure Coast Food Bank and what you bring to the table, so to speak, at the food bank?
Yeah, so I can go first with that. So like I said, I spent the last 4 years up in Tallahassee, and I worked a lot with the food bank up there, which is also Feeding America Food Bank, and kind of going off just like what Avery said earlier about the stats was I never had a clue of the sheer number of people who were one meal away from being food insecure, one paycheck away, or just were food insecure. And I just absolutely fell in love with the cause. I think one of my first day here, I was talking to somebody and she was like, it's once you realize the need, it's such a hard cause not to just fall in love with, that you want to kind of give it your all. And so I kind of just found out about the Treasure Coast Food Bank a little bit more through that kind of outlet. And I was home for the summer and it just felt like the perfect opportunity to kind of get to use a little bit of what I've learned at school, but also leverage something that I cared and I was truly passionate about. And kind of, like you said, we kind of all bring something a little bit to the table. But I've studied marketing and I'm kind of doing a marketing internship. Has been really great to kind of take what we've learned in the classroom and kind of apply it here, but above all for a cause that matters. So I've absolutely loved that.
Well, what are the skills that you bring to the table that you think have made you more valuable here? Now, you've been on board for about a month. Is that correct?
About a month and a half, but yeah.
So what are the skills that you bring to the table other than generic marketing?
Kind of just being here, and what I've learned is everybody wears a lot of different hats, whether like you're in marketing or you're in HR, it's all for the cause. So I think everyone kind of just stops what they're doing. If they need help at a mobile distribution, we'll go out there. And I think I love that kind of stuff. I love being flexible with that. I love being able to go out in the morning and kind of give meals, but also come back and work on some marketing material. Like me and Avery were at a mobile distribution this morning, and so I kind of look a little sweaty, but I think just being able to kind of be flexible and change course and change path a lot. It's very narrow focus, and you kind of just have to be on top of it because we've been given a lot of responsibility. And I really appreciate that. And I think Avery and Lily would agree that I think you think internship, you think getting coffee, you think all of that stuff, and that's not what we're doing here at all. We are working, we're getting to see the stuff that we're creating, the stuff that we're doing, the ideas that we're having go out and actually being utilized. And that's kind of been the best part. And I think it takes, someone once told me that nonprofit work takes a special person, a special heart. And I think that's kind of what I see in myself and what I see in the other interns. So it's just been a blast.
What do you think that you have learned so far in the last 6 weeks since you've been home that you didn't know? Because you already had a familiarity with the food bank situation. So what did you learn that was new?
I think a couple things, both from the logistics side and just food bank in general. But like I said, I had worked with a food bank at Feeding America Food Bank in the past, so I kind of had an idea, but I didn't have a fraction of the idea that I thought I had, how much they genuinely do. I mean, the Treasure Coast Food Bank has 400 agencies that they go and work with. So you just think of the sheer number of meals that they're providing in the community and just kind of how many people that they're impacting, whether that's through volunteers. I've got to meet a lot of volunteers who come to like every single mobile distribution, every single event. And that's been so cool to see people who have dedicated their lives and don't even like work for the food bank, and just kind of you feel a little bit closer to the community. So it's kind of, in that sense, it's been such an eye-opening experience that you feel, it makes you go home at night and you feel good because you've seen people who care, people who are thankful, just the whole world of it all.
Avery, what has surprised you about the Treasure Coast Food Bank? Had you worked with a food bank before?
So I personally had not. And one of the things I think that, is very impressive, I guess, would say just how much it really takes for the Treasure Coast Food Bank to stay open. And everyone is so, like Alexis was saying too, in terms of like wearing all these different hats, everyone wants to be here and they want to help. And it's just, between the donors and the volunteers, like there's so many moving parts, for events to happen. And it wouldn't be possible without the support of all those people. And, also all the employees here who want to be here and who want to make a difference and who care so much about the community. But I just think, you don't realize like where all the food comes from and just all the boxes and all the volunteers. And like Alexis was saying, we were at an event this morning and someone was there helping clean up and we thought he worked here. And nope, he was just, doing it because he wanted to help out his community. And just little things like that, I feel like, are very reassuring just because the last year was really hard for a lot of people. It was sad. And I think the fact that there's still people out there who want to, make a difference and who do good things for the community and who care. It's nice to see that for sure.
Well, I think that many of us have grown up in a family or a neighborhood or a community that is not food insecure. So
for sure,
we don't know what it looks like. Were you surprised, you guys have been spending some time working the lines as well. Were you surprised that the people that were coming through were everyday people?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was too. I'm sure they can also say the same thing, but, just like everyday people. And, like we were saying too with COVID, like that very, easily could have been you. And you never really think that, oh, one day I may not know where my next meal is going to come from. But when there's unforeseen circumstances like COVID, that is very possible. And I think too, something also really rewarding is when, you're packing up people's cars and you can see just how appreciative they are. And you realize, okay, what I'm doing is very directly impacting someone. And I know I go home and think like, I'm so lucky that I never have to question where my next meal is going to come from, or that if I'm hungry, I go into my fridge and I get a snack. And you realize there are people out there that don't have that. And that's a very real thing. And I think until you've seen that, it's kind of hard to actually grasp that concept.
I'm glad you brought that up because a lot of us, especially teenagers, kind of take for granted the variety of food in our cupboard. And, out of the three of you guys, and okay, Gary included, how many of you are picky eaters?
I'm kind of picky, I'll be honest. Yes.
Okay.
Incredibly.
To a point, I pretty much like it all. So,
because, has it changed the way you feel about food, seeing people who have to take kind of what they could get and, not be able to so much pick and choose what they're eating?
Well, that's kind of been something for me that has been another eye-opening factor, is the sheer variety that the Treasure Coast Food Bank provides. I mean, they're not just giving people bags of rice or things like that. It's fresh fruits and vegetables, it's meat. There's a lot of different options. And yes, people can't be as choosy as maybe they were in their own grocery store, but I've been shocked by the quality of the products that are going to these people. And that's been, I think, a really great part too. I think something we talk about a lot is sometimes people have to make sacrifices, and a lot of that comes to health or the quality of the food, because cheaper food is usually a little bit less healthy. And I think the Treasure Coast Food Bank does a really great job of providing those nutritious, really great meals to people. And I think it's been incredible. But yeah, I mean, we're packing cars, and I know it's hard if people, they're picky or they don't have the options. It's definitely not the same as going to the grocery store and having unlimited access, but I've been surprised by the quality.
Lily, we haven't had a chance to hear from you as much. What you bring to the table, I keep using all these food metaphors. I'm not nervous. What you bring to the table is a little different than what Alexis and Avery do because you're specific to graphic design. Have you spent a little bit more time in the background?
Right. So I usually am making like flyers and graphics for social media and things like that. But I've also had the opportunity to be a part of some of these volunteer activities and get to see like the boxes being packaged and getting to see all the people receiving the food and loading their cars. So it's been a very good variety of things to do here. While I've been here, I've gotten to be a part of a lot of different things other than just graphic design. But I have gotten to do a lot of fun graphic design stuff as well, all while helping out the mission in the same way.
When any of you ladies were able to be a part of the food line and the distribution, were you surprised at the people who were coming through the line?
I mean,
Was it what you expected?
That's the thing. I feel like, we kind of have a slogan that like hunger looks like you, and it can be anybody. And I feel like, there are just everyday people coming through, and I think that just shows kind of that it's not like a certain category of person. It's only like people who fit into these boxes. There's no like stereotype because, things can happen and there are circumstances, and people who once could have had no problem with that either lost their job, got injured, something happened, and all of a sudden now they're finding themselves in a situation they never thought they would be in. And so I think it's hard to kind of like put people into certain categories and say only, this person with these specific qualifications is gonna, not have the ability to just go to the grocery store and get whatever they want because, like we've been saying with COVID and everything else, I think it's definitely impacted a lot more people than, you would have thought previously.
So here, Gary, I know that you want to chime in on this too, but one other question for the girls while I'm thinking about it. Has it changed the way working at the food bank? Has it changed the way you look at food back home in your cabinet or your refrigerator?
Yes and no. I think just kind of having that understanding, but and it makes you grateful. I mean, obviously, like I have never personally been in a situation like that where food maybe wasn't on the table or as available, but my father grew up that way, and he always kind of instilled that into me that you have to be grateful for what you have. And I think just kind of understanding that and having a little bit of context that, like Avery said, hunger, it looks like you could be anybody. I mean, most Americans, a lot of people are living paycheck to paycheck. They don't have that core savings. And when a disaster happens like COVID, it kind of really reaffirms that it could be anybody. I mean, losing your job unexpectedly, not having all those resources. And it's just so great, I think, to work for a place that is kind of the last line of that defense and is really just helping people really get through situations like that.
You really feel like you're making a difference. Gary, you had mentioned that the percentage of people who are coming through food distribution lines, because of the number of people who live paycheck to paycheck or month to month, or just don't have savings, especially during the pandemic, that changed greatly, and hopefully things are kind of leveling out now. How did the Treasure Coast Food Bank have to pivot their giving?
Well, actually, we, as Alexis was mentioning, the variety, I think that's a lot of that's the biggest shock to folks coming through the line is I think they are expecting to come through and get a bag of rice and beans and, maybe something very, very basic when they come to the line. But thanks to the generosity of our community, our retail partners, we have a very robust TFAP program, which is our government commodity program. We've been able to really provide some quality food for these folks and really give them a really nice variety of items that they can take home and prepare actual meals out of versus just giving them a box of squash or a box of lettuce. We're giving them a variety bag of lettuce and tomatoes and cucumbers they can actually make a salad with. So having just the general variety of what we've been able to provide, not only through COVID, but pre-COVID, post-COVID, our food bank is really able to provide a quality product to folks that are struggling. And one of the things I was going to hit on earlier too, we were talking about the food line, is the perception of folks coming through the lines, and a lot of the folks are driving really nice vehicles. And one of the things we always try to reiterate to those folks, especially some of the volunteers, that well, this guy's driving a Mercedes, he doesn't need the food. That Mercedes, it may be their only means of transportation to get them to and from work, or maybe they did have the resources to have that whenever they had two incomes coming in. So the perception of the folks coming through, trying to keep an even kill on not judging. And I've always had the motto that folks, it's up to them to do the right things with the food that's being provided to them. And if it's something they don't need, maybe they share it with their neighbors. They have other family members that they can support with it as well. So.
As far as needs go, have the monies been coming in at the same level they were at the beginning of the pandemic in order to be able to provide what you provide?
I'm not in finance, so I know that our organization has been able to keep all of our staff on throughout the pandemic. And I know that we have a very, very generous community who supported us wholeheartely through a lot of our fundraising campaigns and things that we've done, our direct mail campaigns. I think we've been able to sustain, and again, I feel very fortunate that I was able to keep a job throughout the entire pandemic and beyond. Ultimately, our goal is to work our way out of a job. I mean, that's our goal, is to end hunger. And once we do that, we're out, but hope it's no time soon. But that's ultimately our goal. But yes, I feel like financially, we've been able to maintain and really use those funds to support the community.
There are a lot of different types of nonprofits out there, and wonderful charitable causes, but keeping in mind that the ability to eat is a basic need, and that's something that everybody needs. And as you said, you see different types of cars coming through a line or coming to you for help, and yet that they're you might have owned the same car, for example, for 5 years, but your level of need has changed. Or you might have maybe you're getting back on your feet again and finding another job, or especially in this area, a lot of people didn't lose their jobs. But the people who did were, for the most part, frontline people who needed them the most. So how are you pivoting now that the world is opening back up?
Well, again, as I mentioned earlier, I mean, post or pre-COVID-19, our distribution numbers were still pretty large. I mean, yeah, we saw a huge increase with COVID, but we're still serving a lot of folks. And I think once COVID's gone, I still feel like that we're going to still be here to support a lot of the community in the 4 counties that we serve. You were talking about the nonprofits, and there's a lot of nonprofits. And, when we talk to folks about making donations or supporting our organization, one of our biggest selling points is that for every dollar we collect, we can provide 8 meals to the community. And I think that's it's a great sell, but it's also a very true statement to the fact that we can really stretch a dollar. And for a donor, someone that's really wanting to get involved and donate financially, that's a big plus for us, being able to stretch that.
And like with other nonprofits, now that we have a COVID vaccine and we have things in place to keep us protected and to go back out into the community, our special events are ramping up again. So let's take some time to talk about some of the things that you have coming up.
Yeah, let's let the ladies, I mean, they're wide open with our special events, so we'll let them jump in on this.
Okay.
So as Gary mentioned, I feel like the biggest thing we're working towards right now is Hunger Action Month for sure. And we have so many events that we've been working on for that, also because it's a great way to, again, get the community involved. We're working on an event called Light Up Orange right now, where different businesses, schools, churches, car dealerships can basically light up orange to show that, hey, we're with you, we're joining the fight against hunger, just so people are aware. As Gary mentioned, we have a comedy show that's going to be in September also, which is family friendly as well. We have a 5K walk and run, again, family friendly. So a lot of really great things like that coming out.
Now, so National Stop Hunger Month is September. And are you ladies going to be back in school?
Yeah.
Yes, I know. We always say too that we're sad we're not going to be able to be here for that, but we will definitely be keeping an eye out on social media. So.
But you're planning it. Lily, I know you bring specific graphic talents to the team. And have you been able to produce things that are different from what you've done in the past, working with the Treasure Coast Food Bank?
Yes, so I've been able to look at all of the previous works that have been used throughout and sort of build off of them and take what they liked in it and use that and try to elevate it so that it's more organized or whatever they need for the specific project. So it's been a lot of fun learning how to do all of that here.
It is. Everybody has a different way of doing it. So, you know, you said that you're mainly working on the special events that are going to be happening in September. Can you ladies tell us about some of the things specifically that you're doing? What you're working on projects?
Yeah, so right now, like we said, Hunger Action Month has kind of really been what we put a lot of our time and effort into, and kind of Avery touched on our events, but it's really fun to kind of see the execution. We have weekly meetings where everybody kind of just talks about where we are, how we've gotten past it, how to delegate it. So we've created sponsorship packets for businesses in the communities, but also flyers for people as well, that can kind of inform them about the event. And we really tried to cater to a wide variety of audiences. We're trying to both raise money and raise awareness, but also really get the community involved. I mean, kind of what we do here is for the community, by the community. So like Avery said, we have a 5K that's going to come up. So for those families who want to be a little bit more active and really kind of get out in the community, but also a comedy show, if that's more your thing, there's a lot of different avenues to kind of take to get involved and have a part in this wide ranging event. And then we also have developed a kids calendar. So kind of playing off the 30 ways in 30 days, how can you kind of stop hunger in the community? We created a kids version. So there's coloring sheets, word searches, word scrambles, a really fun and interactive way to get them involved too and kind of explain what the situation is. I know we've all kind of touched on it a lot, but you kind of are always shocked by the numbers, the stats, and I think they're really humbling and they're also very inspiring that you can have an impact to change something. And we're just trying to get more people in with the mission. So it's been really fun.
Yeah. And then another thing too, I think that's exciting is we're doing a kids event kind of called like Can Creations, where basically kids can bring in different cans and they can work together in teams and create different like structures and that kind of thing. So that's a fun way too to create a little bit of a competitive element, but again, another way to get people involved and also bring in cans and stuff for the food bank as well.
Well, in the past, Gary, and I think you were probably on board when they did this, that there was an adult can building competition and it was at Sailfish Brewery. So it was a whole different type of competition.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was a wonderful event and it's just postponed right now. But it was called Cans for a Cause, and it basically brought local downtown businesses together. They would provide their own cans and build their own structures. They would have them up for the entire month of September, and then they would actually let folks that would vote on those on Facebook. We'd have a winner and a big celebration at the end to announce the winner, and they would receive a trophy that they would keep for the entire year until the following year. Because of the struggle with COVID, a lot of the downtown businesses, while they've been able to stay open and maintain, financially, they've had to kind of cut back some things. And so we felt that this year would be a good year to kind of pass that by. But there is going to be another event that Selfish is putting together for us. We're still working on the details of that. But yeah, the Cans for a Cause has been awesome. And then we've been very involved in the past too with a construction event, which was a more formalized can building that we did down at the mall. So this is going to be great.
That too, yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, the kids version is going to be wonderful. Again, this is just another creative idea from our interns that it's going to be a super fun activity. It's going to give kids a reason to give and bring food in, and just build something really fun.
How's the kids version going to be different? How are you going to run that where it's safe and something that, are the kids going to have to bring in their own cans or collect their own cans?
Yeah, so we're our goal and kind of where we are still in the planning stages is to really incorporate the schools. I think those are such a great resource. And because so much of it is through education and awareness. I know we've kind of talked to them, and I think they're kind of getting on board as well, and kind of just having it like canned food drives through the schools, which I know a lot of them do already, and kind of just a little bit more organized. But just kind of having this, it's going to be a calendar, it's going to have some sheets stapled with a lot of different activities, and kind of just really utilizing kind of that resource that we already have in the community, which is the schools. And I think that is such an incredible factor to kind of partner with them.
And too, and like Alexis said, a lot of the activities on the calendar, they're fun, but they also, let kids know like, hey, this is the food bank, this is what it does. Like, you get to go home at night and, mom and dad have cooked dinner for you and you don't have to worry about that. But there are kids out there that, don't have that capability. And so we have some trivia sheets too, which again, kid friendly, but also let people know like, hey, there's others in your community who are struggling with food. And even though, you're only in elementary school or middle school, like there are ways that you can make a difference.
So the distribution of the 30-day calendar is going to be through the school district?
I know that's kind of a little bit still in the works. We're going to probably have a PDF version on our website, and it is in September, so we're kind of working on closing up all those fine ends, but we do really want to work with the schools. We think there's a lot of opportunity there.
Something that I think is interesting with the schools too, and with the children is, and you guys are a little bit closer to being grade school age than I am. So it's closer in your memory, but I had no idea when I was young what my family's financial situation was. And I can remember in elementary school clicking a box that said I was upper middle class, and my mother saw it and she said, "What are you talking about?" And I'm like, well, and I was like asking her, well, I'm this, and like, because what a child's perception is different than it actually is. And, it's really according to the family and the community. If you feel like you have everything, then you might feel like you're upper middle class when you're not.
It's funny you say that. When I was in elementary school, I actually received free lunch, and I thought that was a privilege. I would brag to my friends, hey, I get free lunch today, and I got free lunch every day, not knowing that it was because my family really couldn't afford to send me to school with, I don't even know what the price was, but I mean, it couldn't have been more than $1, but yeah, it was pretty, it's weird to think now that I actually bragged about it and got away with it. People were kind of jealous because I was getting free lunch, as an elementary kid. So
because you were special.
Yeah.
But so before we leave the show, we got about 4 minutes left. Alexis, Avery, and Lily, how has the last 6 weeks changed your perception about the people who need food and what the Treasure Coast Food Bank provides?
Yeah, so it's kind of really like eye-opening. We probably have kind of nailed that expression into the ground, but it's kind of just been really cool. I think, like we said, a community, the volunteers who are here, we've got to meet a lot of them who are part of this family. It's not just the people who work here. So much of it is through the community. So much of it is outreach. So much of it is just very finely ingrained. I love getting to tell my friends, hey, like I'm interning at the Treasure Coast Food Bank, because it is such a backbone of our community. It's kind of just there at like a last line of defense for a lot of people, and just there are people out there who need the help. There are people who are willing to help, and it's just kind of a beautiful cycle in that sense that I've just loved to be a part of in any way.
Avery and Lily?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with Alexis too. And I just think, like everyone's, kind of been saying, it's been such a great opportunity. And again, it's nice to not only get to utilize, some of my major skills, but also be able to do it in a way that gives back to the community. And I think, kind of like you were asking how it changed my perception on, people who are food insecure in the community. Again, I think maybe you have, I don't know, people before would just have a perception that like, oh, it's people who've always been food insecure. But like we've said, things change suddenly and something happens, and all of a sudden you find yourself in a situation that you've never been in before. And again, I think just that the fact that the Treasure Coast Food Bank is there to help these people and support them, and that, if you ever did need that, there are people who want to help you, and that there are, things to fall back on.
Lily, what do you think?
And I agree with everything they've said, and I'm really just grateful to be a part of an organization that's bettering the people and the community around it. And it's also taught me to really just be grateful for my position and where I'm at, and to be able to use my skills and the profession I want to go into in a meaningful way.
That's very well said. So basically, what we're looking at is, you have a room full or several cubicles full of assistants this summer, but you're hoping that Avery and Alexis and Lily are going to make a difference in the things that you do all year round. Gary, just give us a quick rundown of how people can use the website and the Facebook page and social media to get information. We just have just about less than a minute left.
Yeah, absolutely. You can find out a lot of it. Really, just go to our website, stophunger.org. You can find anything and everything you want to know about the food bank, from distribution points to our programs. And again, we do a lot more than just food. We have a lot of programs that we run in addition to food distribution, all of our special events. Anything you want to know about the food bank, stophunger.org is the website. And our hashtag as well for our social media is TC Food Bank. So if you go to facebook.com/TC Food Bank, Twitter, Instagram, you'll be able to find all of our information.
Great. So we can get all the information at those channels. I really appreciate, Gary, you being with us, along with Alexis, Avery, and Lily with the Treasure Coast Food Bank. Hope you guys have a lot of fun stuff coming up in the year, and we'll check out the website for more. Thanks for joining me today. We'll be back next week with more.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.